Afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Michael, for that introduction. We meet today, of course, at a time of economic challenge around the world. We're still feeling the impact of a historic pandemic, and as Russia continues to wage war against Ukraine. And while we take on those very immediate issues, we must not lose focus on the importance of tackling climate change, not least because action to protect our planet is vital to future-proofing our economy and protecting our energy security. And I'm proud that UK leadership at COP26 led to commitments that sparked transformation across the global financial system to help keep the 1.5 target in sight. But 2 years on, and the challenge remains that the scale, the affordability and access to finance needed for a global transition is insufficient. Glasgow helped draw up a blueprint for the delivery of net zero, but now the onus is on all of us to turn the commitments made in Glasgow and Sharm el-Sheikh into concrete action. For the UK government, we set out in March our new net zero growth plan, charting how we will deliver domestically while still supporting economic growth. And our track record shows this can be done. We've reduced emissions faster than any other G7 country since 1990, while still growing the economy by 65%. And our plan is backed by over £30 billion to support the green industrial revolution here in the UK. But we know that is not enough. Indeed, public funding will never be enough, because ultimately most of the investment for the transition will need to come from the private sector. So the role for government goes beyond public finance, as Michael said. We know it's essential for us to provide the policy clarity and frameworks, the long-term certainty and the investment climate that supports private capital to deliver our shared goals. And that is what our green finance strategy is all about. It sets out how we will deliver on our commitment that we made at Glasgow to become the world's first net zero aligned financial sector through action in three areas. First, we focused on transparency. We want to ensure the provision of decision useful information and data from real economy firms and financial institutions to inform investors across the public, private and third sectors on sustainability issues. The second focus for us is on the tools that we need for transformation, better utilising financial markets and products in the financial system to support investors to incorporate that information into their decision-making and monitoring. And the final strand of this work is thinking about the transmission channels, the mechanisms that will shift finance to align with net zero, drawing on government-wide policy to de-risk green investments and lower their cost of capital, to broaden the pools of capital and the investor base available, and enabling investors to use their influence through stewardship. We're under no illusions about the scale of the challenge before us, but we also recognise and want to seize the opportunity. The global market for green goods and services from the UK could be worth £1 trillion by the end of the decade, and with that comes huge export opportunities and high-paid, high-skilled jobs. But we also recognise, despite the reach of London as a global financial centre, domestic action is of no value if it is not matched with action globally. That's why we've put international standards and frameworks at the heart of our approach, and why we will continue to use all our efforts to drive further action on the global stage. Under our G7 presidency in 2021, the UK brokered a landmark agreement between finance ministers on moving towards mandatory climate-related financial disclosures. And under our Transition Plan Task Force, we're working to deliver guidance on transition planning disclosures that will help investors identify which corporate net zero pledges and transition plans have credible commitments. And we've also pledged to continue work with developing countries for a just transition. The UK is pushing for progress on multilateral development bank reform to unlock hundreds of billions in financing for developing countries and help bridge the global climate and nature finance gaps. The Bridgetown agenda launched by Mia Motley that we'll hear more about later this afternoon is a clear call for action to reform the international financial system, and we fully support the ambition of that agenda. For the UK, we remain at the forefront of many initiatives in this area, like the adoption of climate-resilient debt clauses, where UK Export Finance is the first export credit agency in the world to offer these innovative clauses in direct lending to countries most vulnerable to climate change. And the UK is calling on other lenders to follow suit. I'll finish my remarks now. I don't want to keep you from your lunch, but I wanted to close with a note of cautious optimism. Andrew Bailey, the Governor of the Bank of England, spoke earlier, and I think he was right to impress upon us the depressing inevitability of climate change. Not only is it a future certainty, it's happening right now. But we also have here gathered today representatives from governments and the private sector who have the power to ensure that we can mitigate against its worst effects and adapt to the new reality that it will bring. And that work will be a partnership between public and private, domestic and international. And if we do work together, I do believe that we can deliver. So thank you very much.